Hey, this is CJ Graham, Jason Voorhees, Friday the 13th, Part 6. You're listening to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Podcast, and you should listen to Jason because Jason does live. I'll be back.
In a world where zombies, ghosts, serial killers, and vampires all exist, it's Nico, Brian, Mike, and Dustin, and they are all that stand between you and the films that could end the world. Welcome to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Review Podcast. I just want to thank all of our listeners, our supporters, followers on social media. I want to give those a quick shout out before we start this movie review. Like, we've got the big three: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Just search Don't Go Out There. Or if you follow any of us personally on Twitter, just ask us and we'll hook you up. But tonight we got a really special movie. As we've already teased, we did an interview with Jason actor CJ Graham, the man who played the role of Jason in Jason 6, Jason Lives. So we figured we might as well go ahead and review the movie he did as well. And stay tuned for that interview, guys and girls, on Friday the 13th this week. Jason Lives, in my opinion, I've already told this story on this show several times. This is the first overall horror movie in general for me. I remember it as a 6-7-year-old kid with my babysitter and little brother. I was terrified. This is what introduced me to horror. This introduced me to Jason, and it stuck with me forever. This, in my opinion, is one of the, I think every Friday the 13th, fans, I would say at least a top 3 or 4 movie in the franchise. I would say a top 4 isn't even pushing it. I honestly love this movie. And I'm going to let good brother Dustin Franklin go. He joined us for our Friday the 13th ranking, and he also joined us for the CJ Graham interview. Dustin, what are your general thoughts on this movie, man?
Well, appreciate you guys having me on again. And I just, this movie is my favorite of the franchise. Friday the 13th is my favorite horror franchise. Jason's my favorite slasher. I thought this movie, it captured a lot of, it captured everything you want in Jason. It had peak Jason. It had the zombie Jason, where he's just got superhuman strength. He's a badass, indestructible. The shortest of the franchise, 86 minutes runtime, makes it easy to keep up with. There's not much filler in there. It's easy to stay glued to the screen, and it captures your attention. Overall, I've said it multiple times, and I will take it to the grave. No one can change my mind. This is the best Jason movie. This is my favorite. And so overall, this is a fantastic film.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, so I was really looking forward to getting to watch this film again. It had been a couple years since I sat down and actually watched it all the way through. I watched a lot of, or listened to, guys like Dead Meat and all that. All those guys talk about this movie throughout the, just throughout the months. Like, I'll throw it on every now and then because, if I need something filler, I go to, those kind of guys, just kind of like take me through a movie. And I did that a lot over the last couple of years, but I hadn't actually sat down and watched it, and I couldn't tell you when. So I was really excited to sit down. When we did our rankings, I had it my favorite Friday movie. It was close, though. And to me, it's still close. I really, really like this movie. This is the Jason that I like, where he's zombie Jason, a total badass. He's, slashing and gashing and all that stuff. I love it. Now I have some problems with it, like I do every movie, but a short runtime you can't complain about. What I will say, and I'm going to save it for the very end, but there's one gripe I have with 2 of the people that are on this show about this movie. I'm going to save it for the end, though. I just want to let you know I love you both very much ahead of time. But I got a bone to pick. But I really do enjoy this movie. It might, having watched it this time, I'll spoil it here. It might bump down to my number 2, just off of, I really, really like that 09 Friday. I really like that movie. So it's a toss up there, but I really enjoyed it.
All right, Dustin, get ready because he's coming for us later.
I know. It's me and you, baby. It's me and you.
No, it's Nico and Dustin.
Oh, we know.
Oh, yeah.
Mike and Brian are always tag teaming against everybody. Speaking of Brian, go ahead, brother. What's your general overview of this movie, man?
I really like this movie a lot. I mean, obviously, yeah, it has some problems, but I think I ranked it third on my franchise rankings. But honestly, I have 4 number 2 and 6 number 3, and just depending on the day, those things can switch back and forth. Honestly, I actually had just watched this movie previously, like a couple of weeks ago, just because it doesn't have, spoiler alert, there's no nudity in this movie, and that was the only thing that was that was the only thing holding me back from letting my 9-year-old watch it. And once I remembered after our interview that there wasn't any nudity in it, I said, you know what, he can watch this. And so we watched it again together. So I love it. I love the soundtrack. It's got the best soundtrack in the series, probably one of the best in all of the horror franchises. I mean, we just reviewed Nightmare on Elm Street 3, where they basically copied the same idea, a few years later. I like how it, kind of treads into horror comedy waters a little bit, and how, it's got some meta moments. Now, spoiler alert, I will get into that a little bit later, because some of those meta moments come off a little too cheesy. So, otherwise, yeah, I really like this movie.
Y'all boys ready to jump into scene by scene?
Let's do it, baby.
Let's get it.
All right. I'm just going to go ahead and say it right now. Drew and Brian, they kind of argued over an article that Brian sent us a couple weeks ago about great horror intros, and this movie was excluded off of it, and I had a problem with that because Jason Lives, the opening scene of this movie, the first 9-10 minutes is great. It's the best in the franchise, in my opinion, by far. And let's jump into it. The film starts with shots of nature. The sky, the road is foggy. Tommy Jarvis and his friend are heading to Jason's grave. Tommy wants to make sure Tommy tells his friend he wants to make sure Jason goes to hell. They get to the gravesite and they dig up his casket. And I wrote down there's a nice score with a windy, stormy setting. Tommy's friend doesn't want him to open the casket. Tommy breaks open the casket, and we see maggot and worms all over Jason's face and his eyes. Tommy grabs an iron fence post after replaying his childhood encounter with Jason in his mind, and he stabs Jason over and over in the chest. After he crawls out of the grave, lightning strikes the fence post twice, reviving Jason. Tommy crawls back in to try and remove the fence post. Then Jason grabs him as he tries to exit the casket site. Tommy's friend screams. Tommy throws gas all over Jason and tries to light him on fire, but it starts raining, of course. His friend hits him in the back of the head with a shovel, and he doesn't flinch. He punches straight through his chest with his heart in his hand, and his friend falls into the grave. Tommy runs and jumps in the truck, and it actually, works this time in a horror movie, and he flees off. Jason grabs a mask that Tommy threw into the grave, and he grabs the iron post, and he turns around, and you get the opening credits with the machete slash, 007 style. Dustin, this is your favorite Friday the 13th movie. What are your thoughts on this opening scene, man?
Well, I thought that, like you said, this is the best opening scene in the franchise, one of the best opening scenes in horror, I feel like, because it sets the tone for the rest of the movie immediately. Piggybacks off the last film because Tommy wants to make sure that Jason's dead this time, and we're going to make sure that we finish him off for good. A couple tidbits about this scene. The director, Tom McLaughlin, he actually took some props home from the film, and Jason's tombstone is actually in his front yard.
Nice.
And so that's pretty cool. And another little tidbit, when they show the close-up of Tommy's hands lifting the casket lid, that's actually Tom McLaughlin's hands. Yeah. So that's not even the actor that played Tommy. It's not his hands. I thought that was cool. But, overall, it's a great scene. There are a couple things that are iffy about it. For one, when Dawes, Tommy's friends, he's standing there with the shovel on his shoulder, and he's like, well, there you have it. Let's go. That was stupid to me. I don't know why that just irritated the shit out of me. It's like, you're going to dig it up. You had the shovel on your shoulder. Shut up. That was just it was just hokey. Now, another fun fact, the song that's playing while they're digging up the body, the same song is actually used in The Shining. So that was cool little, I don't know that it necessarily means anything, but it was a cool little tidbit. One of my favorite parts was when Hawes says, my heart can't take much more, and then his heart's literally ripped out. Like, yeah, buddy.
This movie
We
does
know.
that a lot. This movie
Yeah.
does that a lot.
It does.
Yeah.
And then, you know, another issue I have with it is it does seem kind of hokey. It's typical horror fashion. We're going to go dig up this body in the middle of the night when it's thunderstorming. And so you know something's going to go horribly wrong. For instance, he douses him with gas. He strikes the match. Oh, the rain puts it out. And so that's the only couple things I had to nitpick, but overall, great scene.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, so we have a lot of the same the same high stuff here. I think just having the movie start out, after you get past the Paramount thing, having the movie start out with that opening cue song, a little bit of the score, that lets me know right away I'm in a Friday movie. Okay, like it takes me and puts me right in that mood. I'm ready to watch Jason Voorhees movie, and I think that's good. It sets the mood. I really like the opening scene as well. I think it's got everything I need. It's got some humor. It's got a bad character in Doss who I hate. I'm glad he dies right away. But that's neither here nor there. I like that they have continuity in in this franchise. One thing I will say is I like at least there's some continuity now.
Some.
Yeah, there's some, right? But in this stretch of it, it's definitely the Tommy Jarvis saga.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I like this take on Tommy Jarvis because in 5 he's batshit bananas, and in this one he's a little more calm, a little more collected, a normal person. Now he's not completely normal because he wants to go dig up Jason Voorhees like a dumbass, but that's also neither here nor there. I liked it. I thought the Allen kill was good. I thought the effects made it look brutal. And so, I love this Jason. I love the way they resurrect Jason here, which is much, 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 much. Hold on, I'm not done. Much, 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 much better than having a dog piss where Freddy Krueger was to bring Freddy Krueger back to life.
Yeah.
So, in case anybody didn't remember that, I just put that back in your mind there. So this was much better.
Or a psychic girl bringing him back to life.
Oh.
Well, we all know Jason versus Carrie. Sorry. That's not the name of the movie. Never mind.
Yeah. What Dustin's talking about it being a little bit hokey, that's the problem, and that's why I keep going back and forth with 4, is because I almost forget sometimes how hokey this movie is, and it's like once you accept, all right, this movie is hokey on purpose, and it's got a lot of meta moments, and it's self-aware of the fact that it's hokey, and then you're like, okay, once you settle into that, and it even borderlines a little bit of a parody of itself, a little bit times too. So once you get into that, then I can enjoy it a little bit better. But I mean, my favorite Jason and I said the same thing about Freddy. Like, I like the dark Friday the 13th entries that take themselves very seriously, and so I have to like shift gears whenever I watch this movie for sure. First, a little fast fact right off the bat. You're talking about part 5, like Paramount as actually came down and said, hey, we want Jason back. We don't, because 5 kind of sets up Tommy as the new Jason, honestly, but they just went the other direction with that because Paramount was like, no, we need Jason Voorhees back in this. And honestly, I'm very glad they did. A continuity error right here is that actually they established in part 5 that Jason was cremated, but they kind of ignored that here, which which I'm glad they did again. Tommy Jarvis, I really liked this iteration the best. Tom Matthews, he was fresh off of Popular Return of the Dead like a year prior, and honestly, he's my favorite iteration. I mean, I really like Corey Feldman as the kid, but I don't want to see, for some reason I didn't want to see Corey Feldman as an adult, and Tom Matthews to me is Tommy Jarvis. Right. So I really whenever I think of Tommy Jarvis in this franchise, that's who I would have. Adam Marcus talked about bringing him back for Jason Goes to Hell, and I really wish, I think Tom Matthews was the one that he was talking about bringing back, not any of the other iterations. I love the effects on Maggot Head Jason. They look great. The practical effects are pretty good in this movie, even though they don't really get a whole lot of screen time. They kind of could do a lot of cutaway kills there, and honestly, to me, this is one. I agree with Mike here that, it's one of the better ways that they bring back Jason, but it had like that Frankenstein, old mummy-ish,
Yeah.
old monster movie kind of feel to it. And that's what I was talking about. It was like a little bit hokey, but not too much. And I really liked that for some reason. I just really liked the way they brought him back here.
Go ahead, Mike.
This movie is hacked to death by the MPAA, and it pisses me off. I can tell too.
Yep.
I just wanted to get that across because there's some stuff I criticize. I know it's not their fault, but this is the cut that we have, so I have to, criticize it as is.
Yeah.
No, that's one of my biggest issues with the movie too, or just the way the kills are in this movie. All right, after this, Jason is just walking in the woods. Tommy gets to the sheriff's department and tells the sheriff that Jason's alive and his friend is dead. The sheriff does not take him serious at all, and they lock Tommy up after he tries to run off with a gun. He pleads for them to go to the grave. Now it shows this couple is driving to the camp on a dirt road path, and they're the lead counselors, we come to find out later. They slam brakes in the middle of the road because Jason is blocking the path. He tells her to, run him over, but Jason doesn't move at all. Jason stabs through the car and flattens a tire. The guy grabs a gun and gets out of the car and shoots him, but Jason impales him, killing him. Let me flip my page real quick. He stabs through the windshield with that iron fence post, and she flees the car. She tries to bribe him with money, and she's like, "Here, I'll pay you. Please don't kill me." But Jason appears right over her, killing her, and kills her in the puddle. And I thought, the puddle kind of made the kill a little, nastier, gnarlier.
Yeah.
Tommy wakes up in jail. Megan, the sheriff's daughter, and the other counselors come in asking for someone to look for the couple who is, they're missing, but they've been killed by Jason. Tommy says to be aware of Jason, and Megan takes I wrote down Megan takes a liking to Tommy right off the rip. The sheriff has them leave. Sheriff tells him he's going to escort him back to the mental facility, as in Tommy. The gravekeeper finds the dug up grave and is complaining and reburies him. He just sees kind of like the foot hanging out of the casket. He doesn't realize that it's, Tommy's friend. And I wrote down, you get this really meta moment where the gravekeeper is talking right to the camera. The counselors are unpacking, and one girl says she's worried that, that the head counselors are missing. Tells Megan she doesn't know how she feels about what Tommy was saying, and Megan tells him the story of Jason. Then the bus of campgoers shows up. Brian, do you want to go first on those two scenes, man?
Yeah, sure. Do you have the line that Gravedigger says into the camera? It says something like, these guys have a weird sense of I cannot remember the exact
Here it
line.
is. Some folks have a strange idea of entertainment.
Yeah, and so that's super meta because he looks right into the camera and says it. That's the meta issue. That's the problem that I have with this is that's almost like cartoonish. So he's like, it's almost needs a da-da-da-da-da afterwards. So, I mean, it's almost like too far that way. I mean, you could have, Scream is, we can get into Scream all day, but Scream's got meta moments like crazy, but never somebody that looks into the camera almost like, you guys eating popcorn out there, heart, heart. Like that to me, that was just a little bit too far. The couple driving that gets killed right off the bat. The guy Tony Goldwyn, I think is his name. Yeah, he. I always think of him. I remember him as the bad guy from Ghosts. But little fact here: the woman in it, it's actually the director Tom McLaughlin's wife, Nancy. And I'll read this quick little fast fact here just in the middle of it because I think it goes. But she actually almost died for real during this scene.
Yeah.
So, yeah, apparently it says during the process, Jason lunges at her with a very real, very sharp spear through the car's windshield. The stuntman was supposed to aim at the opposite side of McLaughlin in the car's front seat, but either due to the impact from the windshield or the stuntman's military training causing him to stay on target, the spear changed trajectory, redirecting toward McLaughlin, who narrowly avoided a really very real impalement. I assume that the stuntman that they're talking about is C.J. Graham in this iteration, being that he is ex-military too. So I'm actually not 100% sure about that, but maybe. I'm not 100% sure about that actually. The one nitpick I had, well, I had a couple, I guess, but one of the biggest ones I had was the sheriff's plan is a little bit kind of laughable because Tommy. So at first he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna let the institution come and get him," and instead of letting the institution come and get Tommy in a straitjacket, he thinks a better plan is just to drive him out for a bit and trust he doesn't drive back. So to me, like that was insanely stupid. But so that's all I had right there.
Go ahead, Dustin.
So yeah, this is a good scene. It's got a bunch of great moments. Number one, it's got your typical sheriff in a horror film.
Yes,
Not
it does.
not taking
Christ, does
not
it?
taking the kid
Yeah.
serious. Oh, get out of here, you crazy kid! And this is when he brings up, well, I was gonna dig up his body to cremate it, and that's when it clicked in my mind. It's like, wait a minute, he was already cremated. But when Darren and Elizabeth pull up and see Jason standing in the middle of the road, uh, when Darren gets out of the car and he pulls the gun out and shoots Jason in the chest, that's actually the first time that anyone had shot Jason in the franchise. So here we are 6 films in, and Jason's just now getting shot. I thought that was interesting. No one had thought to try that before.
Nice.
And then Lisbeth, I thought her kill was phenomenal because she's, falling out of the car. She's in the puddle, just petrified. Opens her eyes. Oh, he's gone. Thank God. Surprise, bitch. And so that one got me. I love that kill. And then something that really just lingered in my mind from that scene is when he stabs her in the face, her hand just releases the money in the American Express. That American Express floats in the puddle, and the camera focuses on it for a long time. So I'm wondering if there was some kind of product placement, hey, MX saying, we'll throw you some bones if you plug our product a little bit, plug our credit card.
Right.
I just thought the camera lingered on that card for a while, and I thought that was interesting. But overall, I love this scene. It's one of my favorites.
The actual credit card says American Excess. So
Yeah.
I think they were just trying to be another funny moment. Go ahead,
Okay.
Mike.
I was gonna say that, so I'm glad you did. Real quick, I forgot to mention this. I thought the 007 thing from the earlier scenes that we were talking about, even that was a little hokey for me, and I like hokey. That was a little much, but it's still fun. So as far as these scenes go, I like the sheriff. He's an asshole, but he's a lovable asshole, and so I love those characters with that kind of depth. I think it's good. I love the line, "I'll repaint this office with your brain." Like, that's really good shit. So I love that when Jason walks up onto the camp, he's confused by the name on the sign. He's like, wait a minute. This isn't Crystal Lake. It's Forest Green Lake. It's like, Camp Green Lake from fucking Hole. So the name is definitely different. He does the head tilt. Let's see.
He was hauling ass through the woods, by the way. That was another thing I wrote down. He was hauling ass through the woods right there. Sorry, go ahead.
He walks really fast. Like, he's opposite Michael Myers. Michael Myers is slow as fuck. This guy's zoom, 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 zoom. Like, he's bucking, man. I like the couple in the car. They're definitely there to me to, like, just be killed, but that's okay. That's half this movie.
Yeah.
I think that another meta moment in that scene is when she's aware of the rules of horror. Randy would have been proud right there. He would have been, all right, there you go. So definitely that.
That's the meta. That's one of the meta moments that I don't mind. It was
right. I love that stuff.
That one I didn't mind at all.
So the Darren kill, I get a good laugh at every time I watch this movie. He just kind of stabs him and flicks him and throws him like like he's grilling a burger, or like that big ass spatula from that SpongeBob episode where he's flipping the big giant Krabby Patty. That's kind of that always gets me, and I like the Elizabeth kill too. Just the way it's executed, the way it's shot, it's really good stuff. I think the American Excess was trying to they're maybe trying to say something there. I don't know. Maybe they're trying to comment on the times. I don't really know, but I wouldn't be me. Sorry, I can't not be myself here.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Megan, hello.
Woo.
How are you? Call me sometime.
Call him sometime.
Call me sometime.
You ain't lying.
But I like the caretaker. I think he's a crazy old coot, and I like those guys in horror movies, especially in a scene later where he really, and I got a fun fact about him, but I'm going to save it if no one else has it. And this is the first time the camp has ever actually had kids.
Oh, yeah, I got that. Yep.
Yep.
There's a lot of firsts in this movie, so I thought that was cool too. And, the line where he looks right in the camera. Here's the thing. I love meta horror, and I love this movie for being meta. There are some moments that are like Looney Tunes meta, but
That's
it's not. it doesn't take me out of this movie because I know what it is going into it, and I'm still having fun while watching, so I'm okay with it.
And thanks a lot, Dustin. From now on, I'm going to think of Jason saying Dave Chappelle lines every time he kills somebody.
Shut up, bitch.
All right, now we're at the paintball scene, and I know a lot of people are split on how they feel about this scene. The two guys who got shot and eliminated from the game, they're complaining, and I wrote they had really interesting conversations. It kind of sounds like they might be in a relationship together, and you see Jason in the background.
Kind of.
This lady pops out of nowhere. She shoots the both of them. The two guys are complaining they got shot. Another guy is being sexist, chopping wood with a machete, and he's got some real selective dialogue. And as he's cutting up these branches and vines, Jason appears out of nowhere and grabs him and throws him into the tree. And he gets stabbed through the gut with another limb. And I thought it was a really cool moment because you get this one visual of like the smiley face that's all bloody, but the visual that I like is just Jason like being amazed at how strong he is because he's got the guy's whole arm ripped off in his hand and he's looking at the machine. He's like, oh damn, I came back even stronger. And I really like that. And then there's another awkward guy playing paintball, and he runs in, and he shoots him with the paintball gun, and he takes off running. He's real goofy. He's stumbling in the woods, and he's terrified, and it's awesome. Then it shows Tommy. The sheriff they're escorting Tommy out of the county lines basically, but Tommy he sees a sign for the grave, so he veers off the road and heads to the grave. The cops are in chase mode now. Tommy, he jumps out and he runs straight to the grave, but he's tackled by the sheriff. And then he sees, he's like, look at the grave, but you see it's been refilled. The deputy pulls out his gun with the red dot, but they see the gravekeeper and he asks the gravekeeper, did you rebury it? Did you rebury it? Now we're back to the camp. Megan is hyping up the kids. The sheriff uncuffs Tommy outside the city limits. The gravekeeper is drinking and walking into the woods. And now this random couple is, they're sharing some champagne, and I guess they're just celebrating their engagement. The gravekeeper finishes his bottle of liquor, and here's another meta moment we're all going to talk about, I'm sure. He's finishing his bottle of liquor, and he throws it over his back shoulder. He says, you're going to be the death of me. He throws the bottle over his head, but you don't hear the sound of the bottle hitting the ground. And he turns around. Jason crushes the bottle in his hand and then stabs him. And then, that couple, the guy, he hears the noise in the background, so he goes to check it out. And as Jason goes to hack the gravekeeper one more time, Jason kind of like gives him that super quick stare. The guy runs back to his girl, and they jump on the scooter to try and run off. But then Jason double impales him with the machete. Mike, do you want to go first on those two scenes, man?
Oh, yeah, sure. So I don't have one strong feeling on this paintball scene either way. To me, these guys are just in here to be killed. Like, again, most of the characters in this movie are in here to be killed. So I don't necessarily mind it. What I ended up minding is what the MPAA did to some of the kills. Like, fucking ruined it. It's a slasher. If the kills are cool, I can ignore some of the other fluff that's in it. As long as the kill is worth it, the payoff is there. We don't get that here. We get a homosexual couple, which is fine. We get a badass woman, which is fine. And then we get one of the most sexist, biggest pieces of shit ever that I wanted to see Jason kill. Which, if you listen to last week's episode about Halloween 2007, I don't like necessarily having those kinds of characters in my slasher movie. But that's kind of a nitpick, I guess. They're there to be killed. No big deal. I wrote down that Bert is a misogynistic prick. I don't mind the smiley face kill. I know a lot of people do like it. It's not like high on my list or anything, but it's fine. Like, it's hokey a little bit, but it's fine. It doesn't upset me enough where I'm like, fuck this movie, I'm done. Let's see. I wrote down that. Okay, so, and I already talked about the MPAA. So, again, the paintball scenes, it's fine. Deputy Rick is an asshole. Like, and so this brings me to my point. Cops in horror movies are like really big dicks. Like, even Sheriff Brackett in the first Halloween's kind of an asshole. Nancy's dad, kind of an asshole. Like, you see it. It's a trend. I don't really get why a lot of times in slasher movies, it's kind of like Dustin said, where the cops are either shitty characters or assholes. I love when he I love this is gonna be the death of me and throws a bottle and that's how he dies. I think that's great. Like that's like I'm good with that kind of meta. That makes me go, oh, that's good. You got me, you son of a bitch. So I thought the joke was good, and yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it.
Mike, I want to touch on a point that you made in the Halloween 2018. You said there's a lot of scenes that just set up another scene. I
Right.
kind of felt like the paintball scene was just a scene to give Jason a machete. You know what I'm saying? And
I think so too.
take it for what it's worth.
Right.
Brian,
Right.
I saw Brian actually disagreeing with Mike, so now I want to hear about a first time in Don't Go Out There history. Brian and Mike
This is
disagree.
BS. We disagree for two
Why is
straight
every
episodes.
time the first time? Every time
Was
is
it-
the first time. Look, I mean, I like part of the movie that I like is that it doesn't take itself seriously, and I that's fine. Once you accept that, that's fine. But I don't want you to make a joke out of Jason, and I feel like that this scene makes a joke out of Jason. I mean, first of all, I mean, I don't think we really touched on it before, but that's not actually C.J. Graham. This is the only scene in this movie
Yeah.
that C.J. Graham's not playing Jason. It's an actor, stunt coordinator with Dan Bradley, who played him. This was the first scene shot, and he actually got fired because he was too fat. No, I didn't say that, Dan Bradley. That's just what I heard. That's just what I read. So I'm not calling you fat. I didn't really honestly notice it in this scene because I was too busy paying attention to a smiley face in a tree after you slam somebody's head into it. Like, I'm not. This whole scene feels like Scooby-Doo-ish. It seems cartoony. He rips a guy's arm off. There's no blood almost, which Mike said might have been because of the MPAA. I don't know. Regardless, like, okay, don't show it then. It just looks cheesy and cartoony, And then it did. It took me out of it, and to me, that's making a joke and mockery out of Jason when you're turning this into a cartoon thing, throwing somebody into a tree and then having a smiley face in the tree because his face implanted into it. To me, like, that's just, I don't know. To me, that's taking it a little bit too far, and I really hate it. Oh, and he cuts 3 people's heads off at one time. Come on.
I would have loved to see that kill though. The MPA fucked it up. At least we could have gotten a cool kill from something that hokey. Like, if you're gonna go that route, let us see it.
I mean, maybe, but this Jason doesn't feel as, and maybe that is because it wasn't C.J. Graham or Kane Hodder, but it doesn't feel as big and imposing and somebody that,
no doubt.
like Rob Zombie's, Michael Myers, I would have believed chopped off 3 dudes' heads in one swipe, but I'm not going to believe, Fat Dan Bradley chopped off 3 people's heads. So, and the other problem I have, and I have nothing good to say about these 2 scenes, but the other problem I have is that I'm not going to bitch about character development in a movie if you're going to show me good kills. And, you got those 2 people, the old man in the woods, a couple in the woods, and then we don't even get good kills out of them. I mean, and that's what's frustrating to me. And like you said, maybe because of the MPAA, but, I don't get character development and I don't get good kills out of these. So kind of what's the point a little bit.
Yeah, I'm going to touch on the character stuff at the end during our rating. Go ahead, Dustin. What are your thoughts on the scenes, man?
So I agree with Brian. I hated this scene. I will say though, the smashing his face into the tree and it leaving, the imprint looking like Wilson from Castaway.
Right, exactly. It wasn't even like believable.
That had to be the inspiration. There is no way the guy that made Wilson didn't go off of this movie. There's no way.
That is to me the funniest one. It's 1 or 2 in the funniest kills in the franchise, though. I mean, it's just it is what it is. It's there. No need to.
Jason X that takes the cake, but yes.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. But yeah, the paintball scene sucked. It took so Jason, you have to have the serious tone to the movie at least somewhat, even if you're going to add the comedic elements. And like Brian said, it kind of made a joke of it. The soundtrack, it sounds like they took the soundtrack of Ernest Goes to Camp and put it over this scene, and it's horrible. The dialogue was awful. Could have done without that. Now I will say that when they were back at the camp and Court is explaining to the kids about the Indian rocks, that shit was hilarious. So that's where comedy in the movie worked, because he didn't know shit about what he's talking about, and I got a kick out of that one. Then you go forward into the scene where Martin's in the in the graveyard, and he's just covered up the body, and Tommy runs in. He's like, dig him up, dig him up. Martin had a line. He said, dig him up. Do you think I'm a fart head? That is notable because the only other time the word fart is said in the entire franchise is in the 2009 reboot. So there's a little tidbit for you. And then, yeah, I loved Martin's kill, though. The irony of you're going to be the death of me, the meta factor there. He throws the ball over his head. I don't know about you guys, but I find it insanely impressive to just smash a bottle of liquor like that with your hands and then cut someone's throat, because that glass is pretty thick. So I thought that was a great kill. Overall, I think they're batting at about 40% on these two scenes, 60% bad.
All right, back to the camp, and all the kids are asleep. Jason is back at Camp Crystal Lake. The two girl counselors are playing cards. And they hear her scream and run to the other cabin. One of the girls says she saw a monster. And this is what I texted Brian and Mike the other day and said I never noticed this until I watched the movie and took notes this week. One of the girls says she saw a monster. The girl's name is Nancy, and the counselors tell her not to worry and don't have more bad dreams. And I instantly thought this was a Nightmare on Elm Street reference. But I had read in the IMDb fun facts that Tom McLaughlin just named the little girl Nancy after his wife. So, I mean, I don't believe you, Tom. I think it's a Nancy reference.
It's two on the nose. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, the dream part, it's too.
Yeah, the dream part. Yeah.
Now that the two girls, they think Court is playing pranks on everybody, and they can't find him. Court left and picked up a chick named Nikki to have sex with in the RV. Jason, as he's walking by, he notices the commotion in the RV, and he pulls the power. She tells him to go outside and plug the power back in. He goes in and notices the power cord is all messed up. And then Nancy comes around the corner, and we get a jump scare. They get back in the RV, and he cranks it up, and he takes off. And, he gasses it too fast, and she falls to the back of the RV. As she tries to walk to the front of it, Jason grabs her from the bathroom, and you get the struggle scene. And I think this is a really cool kill. Court doesn't hear her screaming because he's got the Alice Cooper playing so loud. Jason kills her by shoving her face into the RV, and it just leaves this huge facial indentation into the side of the RV. Jason walks up to the front and stabs him in the head with a knife. The RV flips and catches on fire. And I just wrote, this is an iconic visual of Jason on top of the ablazed RV. I love that. I love that visual. Sheriff and Megan are arguing over Tommy. The deputy calls the sheriff and tells him that he found the couple's car, and it looks just like the Jason M.O. Tommy calls the sheriff, and, Megan answers. He tells her that Jason is out there. She tells him she'll come pick him up. He's at some food, market or something. Jason enters the campsite. Sheriff and deputy find the paintballer's chopped up body by the side of the two dead counselors in the car. Jason cuts the phone lines. Sissy sees a shadow walk by their cabin. Paula says it's probably just Court. And then you get a really, really quick Jason. He snatches her right out the window, and he twists her head. And Paula doesn't wake up at all. And it's really funny to me. Dustin, do you want to go first on those two scenes, man?
Sure, yeah, I can go first on this. Number one, I don't know why, but it irritated me. It's another one of those nitpicky things. But when they're going through the cabins to show the kids sleeping, they spent too much time showing the hamster. Like, the hamster is an irrelevant part of the movie. Who cares if they've got a guinea pig in a cage there? I don't know why it irritated me so much, but but when they're in the RV and they're having sex, Court's face during that scene is just another one of those. That's where comedy works. Like, it needs to be subtle and here and there, not we're trying to be funny. And so Court was great right there. He's like, how much longer? 10 minutes. What kind of damn song is 10 minutes long? And who picks that kind of music for sex? Anyway, I digress.
It's the 80s, man.
Yeah, but you tell me they didn't have Whitesnake available? Or they listen to Coke music while they're having sex?
Well, that's true. That's true.
So the way that she got tossed around the RV when he's driving, that was awesome. It's another one of those. That's how you be funny in horror. But I did have a problem when she realizes that the power came unplugged and he walks out, and he's obviously spooked by how the cord's just shredded or the wire's shredded. He's like, I think if you don't want to end up like that, we better go. And she stands there and looks at it. That's a little unbelievable to me because I have a feeling she would have been freaking the fuck out and ran her ass back on the RV. But I did have a little note here. The RV flipping scene was apparently the last shot that they seen, or last scene that they shot on day 40 of shooting. C.J. Graham did his own stunts in the film, and they didn't want to risk injury to him. But what's weird about the whole thing is why even have him in it? Like, you don't have to have him in there when you flip it. But anyway, so
very true.
like, you don't need a stuntman in the RV when you're going to flip it, but whatever. But yeah, I agree with Nico. That scene where he pops out of the RV and he's standing on top of it as it's in flames, that's an iconic. That's the background on my computer right now. That's one of the coolest scenes. There's another great scene in the Friday franchise from the Manhattan movie that you guys like to shit on so much.
It sucks.
But well, that's your opinion, pal. But
right opinion.
yeah, that scene was great. When they go back and they find the severed leg and the arm in the woods, that's the second time the film mentions, well, you know what today is. You picked a good day for it. Happy Friday the 13th. Second time they mention the date in the film. I don't remember them doing it twice in the first 5 films like that. They may have made mention to it, but saying it twice seems like overkill. But yeah, when he twists Sissy's head, that's probably the most badass kill. There's one more kill a little bit later, but that's one of the most badass kills in the movie. But yeah, overall, very good scene. This is some of the best scenes in the movie.
Hey, Dustin, CJ's a military man. He's gonna do his due diligence, I guess. Mike, go ahead, brother.
Okay, so I want to start this off by reiterating, not having nudity in this movie completely fucks the sex scenes. Like,
Well, hey,
it's not because
Mike.
I want to. It's not because I want to see naked women. It's because who does that? That's bullshit, and you know it. Sorry, go ahead, Brian.
No, go ahead. I was just going to tell you that I got the reason why.
Okay,
I went and researched the reason why. It's actually understandable. So go ahead.
Okay, I'm sure it has something to do with the MPAA, but maybe not. All right, so I love the Nikki kill. The way the face goes into the side of the RV, I love that kill. I think the core kill is so it's very. I just like that this movie has none of the kills are really the same. Every kill almost is unique to itself, and so even a little stab in the head kill gets me. No matter what movie it is, if it's done right, that's not my thing. That's not how I want to die. So that's kind of where I am. I'm with you guys on the ambulance flip. That's good shit. The way that Jason's standing on top of it, I love the way that scene is shot. The cinematography is really good there. And by the way, I mentioned this earlier, and I meant to mention it here. I was just a little ahead of myself. This is where Jason is confused by the name outside the camp. Right here, when he walks up on the camp. This is where he goes, huh? Oh, okay. Yeah, same place. Cool. All right. So I'm going to go in and start killing people now. I love the sissy kill, too. It's so brutal. And I don't know if there was one like it in the first 5. I can't think of one off the top of my head. So it was very unique in a sense where it just cranks the head all the way around. I thought it was brutal and gross. I thought the practical effects were pretty good in that. And the Paula off-screen kill I'm not a huge fan of, but part of the reason is just because it's off-screen and there's nothing to it. But I like the payoff of that kill here in the next scenes that you're about to read. I think, how they discover Paula, I think that's really well done. So, I mean, these scenes are good. Like, I really like the ambulance stuff. I think it's good. But kind of like, you said, why the hell is C.J. Graham in that scene anyway? Like, okay, whatever, man. But no, I like these scenes. These scenes are better than the last 2 we talked about. Those are the connector scenes, like Nico mentioned. These are the scenes that, okay, I'm in a Good Friday movie. And this is a really big point I want to make about this movie. It doesn't drag ever. And so, or it doesn't to me. There's no point where I watch this movie and look down at my phone, man, what time is it? Like, how much longer do I have left? Right. I don't pause it to see how much longer I have. It's a short run time. That helps. But I just know in the first the first 3 movies of this franchise, I'm always looking down at my phone, and none of them are very long. I'm not a big fan of the first 3 movies in this franchise. 5, I don't ever watch because it's not a Jason movie, so I can't really speak on that. But 4 in this movie get it right. I'm never looking down like, man, come on, get this over with. So I really like that about this movie. Everything hits really quick.
Oh yeah, definitely. And even 4 has that really, 20 to 30-minute lull with no kills in it.
Right.
But it does character development.
Right.
I'll get into it at the end. Go ahead, Brian.
Um, yeah, so the only reason I can think of, and I don't know this for sure at all, but I mean, I know CJ Graham was doing his own stunts. Maybe he was the only stunt guy that they even had. Who knows? And they needed somebody to drive the bus and crash it. I mean, that's the only thing that I could possibly think of that he would be driving the bus for to have it wreck. I mean, I have no idea if that's true or not, but that was just kind of a thought I had while y'all guys were talking about it. So I'm with you, Mike, and not because I'm a pervert. I mean, I kind of am, but in Friday the 13th movies, like I need to see some nudity. Like to me, that's a trope, and it's even made fun of because it's such a trope. But that's just part of it to me. That and then being in a camp, like there's Jason tropes that I need to see in a Jason movie for the most part. And so. And I agree with you. And so I went and did some research on it. And apparently, actually, the guy that directed Jason Part 5 his name was Danny Steinman. Anyway, he's an ex-porn director. And so, I mean, the sex scenes in that movie are obviously a lot different than this one. But Darcy DeMoss, the girl that plays Nikki in this movie, was actually hired for Part 5, and so she actually did a statement about it and why she got fired, and it was here. I'll just read it. It says, "I was originally cast for the role in Part 5, the part that Debbie Sue Voorhees eventually played. During my audition, Danny Steinman asked me to lift up my top and show him my breasts. I said, 'Excuse me, no, I cannot do that. It's incredibly unprofessional, and my agents didn't tell me about it. You can call my agent, if he's okay with it, I'm fine with it.' Then at wardrobe fitting, Danny propositioned me. He wanted me to have dinner with him. I hadn't even read the script yet, and the next day I didn't have a job. Let's just put it that way." And so she got fired from that, but then the casting directors and stuff made it up to her by bringing her back for this movie. But what's kind of funny is that sure enough, on the day that they filmed this sex scene, Tom McLaughlin actually asked her to go topless. And she'd done nudity.
Oh, okay.
She'd done nudity before, but because of everything that happened in Part 5, she refused, and then they just kind of let it go. So it makes sense on why they don't now, I guess. But so that's the reason. I mean, to me, I can understand that. I mean, she'd basically been, I don't want to say propositioned, and that's a lot of shit. Is Harvey Weinstein basically? That's what it is. She was Harvey Weinstein basically. Moving on from that, but I really do love the face into the RV kill. That's actually tied for my favorite kill in this. Spoiler alert. The Nikki kill there, I really like that, and I do like the sissy kill as well. The only thing I didn't like about that is, I mean, they could have as soon as he pulled her through the window, it's like they stayed on the slippers too long to almost cartoonishly show you I pulled her out of her shoes and out the window. And so that I could have done without that. Now just show me the kill and pull me through the window and have her, her head ripped around and I'm happy. But that was my only nitpick there.
All right, Megan picks up Tommy. Little girl Nancy sees Jason walk past with Sissy's body and no head attached. Megan has Tommy's head in her crotch as she tries to avoid roadblocks. They tell the sheriff the tag number, and he says, "That's my daughter." And I just wrote down, "Hot pursuit now." Megan slides right into another roadblock, and it's the sheriff. We see a machete approaching a cabin. It's Nancy, and she wakes Paula up and shows it to her. She says she found it outside, and Paula still thinks it's a prank from court. Paula takes Nancy back to her cabin, but you see Jason, watching them. And it's a really cool visual to me because you see like her walk by the windows and you see Jason just a little bit slower right behind her. I really like that.
Yep.
Back to the sheriff's department. there's, lots of arguing going on. He tells Megan they found Court in Nikki's body. Megan tells him that Tommy was with her the whole night. They lock Tommy back up. Nancy is back, Nancy is back in bed. Paula tells her to pray. Paula, Paula hears a noise and runs back to her cabin. She tries to call, but the phones are all dead. She sees blood on the floor, and the door flies open. She goes to close it, but Jason barges in, killing her. And like Mike said, it pays off later, but the kill's off screen, and it's kind of disappointing. Mm-hmm. Back at the sheriff's office, Megan and Tommy are kissing through the bars. The deputy pulls her off of him, but she grabs his gun. She tells him to unlock him now. They lock the deputy up and they leave. He says he has a bad feeling they're too late, Tommy Jarvis says. Jason walks into the kid's cabin and Nancy begins to pray. Jason gets right in her face, but leaves when he hears the cop car show up. The cops look around. Sheriff walks into Paula's cabin and he sees it's covered in blood. Jason kills an officer, who's down by the dock. He throws like a knife right into his head. He falls off the dock into a canoe, and I thought that was kind of cool personally. Mm-hmm. Nancy sneaks up on the officer. Jason comes out of nowhere, out of these bushes, and he grabs the officer's head and crushes it with his bare hands. The sheriff grabs Nancy and leads all the boys to a cabin and tells them to hide under the beds. And I'm going to stop right there because the next two scenes are the finale. Brian, do you want to go first on that, man?
Yeah, sure. So I actually wrote down and was complaining about how I said, oh, okay, so you can have Tom Matthews, in Megan's crotch and making little vagina jokes, basically. I was like, but you can't show nudity in the scene before. And then I was like, but once I found out why, I was like, okay, all right, I'll back off of that.
Right. That's
not really a nitpick anymore. I love the throwing knife kill. I think they actually borrow this in the 2009 remake. And I love it both times. I think that's just, I love it. So that's kind of all I had about these scenes. To me, again, these scenes kind of progress the story a little bit, and I have more notes on the end. So that's kind of all I had.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I agree. It's just kind of progressive scenes, and I talked about the Paula kill, and I talked about how that pays off. So I'm cool with it because of that. Mm-hmm. I love the knife toss kill. I think anytime a movie does that, it's kind of like a stab to the head. I think it's awesome. And you're right, they do borrow it to an extent in the 09 reboot, remake, whatever you want to call it. Not a big fan of this head crush because the MPAA hacked it to death. It would have been really cool to see it. You hear it, but you don't see it. And so there's not a whole lot of notes on these movies. Is this the part where they shout out dead meat?
No, that's coming up for the next scene.
Okay. Well, then I really didn't have a lot of scenes or a lot of notes on these scenes just because they're getting me to the end.
Yeah. Go ahead, Dustin.
So, a couple of notes I have here. Number one, have you ever seen a road sign that says ? Speeding ? I've never seen one of those. That was weird to me. Megan's hauling ass, and there's a road sign that doesn't exist. But anyway, yeah. When she shoved Tommy's face right in her snatch, I thought that Kevin Dunn from WWE was directing it.
Oh some people will get that joke.
Exactly. We definitely got a camera shot right of the crotch.
Yes, we do.
Listen, and then when the cop calls in, he calls the sheriff and he's giving him the license plate number. An interesting fact about that was she was driving in reverse, had never turned around, and she didn't have a license plate on the front of her car. So that was kind of weird. After Paula's death, we go back to the sheriff's office and we see Deputy Rick smash a bug on the paper with his fist. There's no point in showing that other than to show you that Deputy Rick is a psychopath. Who smashes a bug with their fist on paperwork they're doing? Megan is an absolute mastermind. I love the way that she got Tommy out of the pokey there, creating the diversion by making out with him. That was brilliant. I really like that. And when Jason, got in the girl's face and she's crying and praying and he doesn't kill her, granted he may have heard the cops pull up, but still he spared the life. That's when you first, to me, see that, okay, it is true. Jason does have compassion for the kids. His beef really is with the adults involved, with this camp, and basically any other adult's going to get in his way. And I get what you're saying about the head crush kill, Mike, but I still love that kill because it definitely showed the brutal strength of
Right.
zombie Jason, and the sound effects. I mean, it sounded like he was busting open a
Oh,
coconut. It's
sound effects
pretty,
are great. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. The sound effects are awesome in that scene.
So that's what I got on those scenes though.
Like Mike was just saying, this is the dead meat line. Do you want to give the dead meat line real quick?
No, go ahead. No,
The
go ahead.
sheriff goes outside and he trips over a dead officer. As he gets up, Jason's there. He shoots him with a shotgun and Jason falls, but springs up over and over. He unloads his pistol, but it does nothing. Jason chases him through the woods. Tommy and Megan show up. She sees Paul's bloody cabin. Tommy puts his supplies in the boat because he's got a plan to kill Jason. Jason is looking for the sheriff. Megan leaves the cabin to find her dad. She finds Sissy, head in the cop car. Sheriff hears Megan, and so does Jason. He tackles Jason and hits him with a limb, and then he takes a rock and starts hitting him in the head over and over. But it does nothing to Jason. Jason kills him by breaking him in half. Jason breaks into the cabin. Jason grabs Megan by the head, but lets her go as Tommy calls out his name. Tommy is insulting Jason as he goes into the lake. He goes too deep, so Tommy lights a ring of fire around the boat. He jumps from behind Tommy, and they wrestle on the boat. Tommy can't get, the chain noose as he's, they're wrestling while he's in the boat. Tommy knocks him back into the lake. Jason jumps back up, but Tommy gets the noose around him, but Jason breaks the boat in half. He chokes Tommy underwater, and he floats back up. It looks like he's dead and drowned. Megan swims out to Tommy. Jason grabs her and tries to drown her now. She cranks the boat motor up and uses the propeller to hack at Jason's neck. Jason's body convulses, and you hear a snapping noise. She gets Tommy's body to land and gives CPR, and he comes back to life. The kids celebrate. Tommy says it's finally over. We cut back to Jason underwater, and the film ends with his eyes moving. That's the end of the movie. Mike, do you want to give your final thoughts on the movie, man?
Yeah, so I think the sheriff deserved a cooler death. That's one thing I took away from that. I mean, it's not terrible or anything, but I don't know. If we're going to kill off maybe one of my favorite characters in the movie, the one with some actual depth, I want it to be done in a better way. So that's something I say. I think the actor who does Tommy Jarvis is great in these end scenes, at least to me. Very convincing. I believe him. That, he's not scared of Jason. He wants to defeat Jason. Come on, you pussy. I believe him, that he's, in that moment, he's trying to overcome his demons right there by knocking off Jason. I like the idea of quote unquote killing off Jason because I know before credits roll, we're going to get an eye open scene. Like that's a hook for me. And I just kind of want to see how they quote unquote kill off Jason so I can see how they bring him back. So I'll always like that. And I like the story arc of Tommy Jarvis throughout this whole movie. I think that the direction that they went with resurrecting or he wanted to have closure with the Jason thing so he can move on. And in this timeline, he gets it right here. And so I really like the end, but I love that his eyes open. That is, I mean, we're going to get a sequel anyways. So you might as well tease the motherfucker right here. And so I'm glad they did, and I think they do it in a really good way. Fun fact, I hope I'm not stealing anybody's, but that scene where they, quote-unquote, kill off Jason was shot in the director's mom's swimming pool. So there's that, the motorboat scene. So there you go.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Brian.
Well, I mean, talk about the eye-open scene. I like it, too, and I love it. So that means in 7, to me, I don't want to see him still in the bottom of the. Did he open his eyes and then he's like,
right.
Okay, I'm going to go back to bed.
That's yeah.
Like
I agree with you on
only
that.
Candyman takes naps. So no, I mean he that's the only thing I had with that. Like that's great. Just have him, in the woods or something, at the start of 7. But 7's got a lot more problems than that anyway. One of the funny things I liked here is how Tommy tells Megan to go stay with the kids, and then as soon as she starts going he yells, "No, don't!" Like, okay, I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
And what was the purpose of the fire around? Besides, it made an awesome visual.
It really did.
Why did he put fire around the boat? Like, what was the purpose of that? I mean, either you were trying to keep him out or in, but if he's under the water, what does that matter? I don't know. I didn't really get the reason for that besides the fact that it looked really cool, and maybe it's just me nitpicking. Jason's kill, that was the other one I said was tied for my favorite one. I really like that a lot. I like the whole boat propeller being used and hearing the crunching. Like, it just sounded really cool. Now, there wasn't blood and guts everywhere, but it was, I thought it was used very well in that. And, you can't talk about this movie without talking about Alice Cooper. And this movie has the best end credits of any horror movie ever made, because you get Man Behind the Mask, Alice Cooper credit scene, and you can just sit there and watch the entire credits and listen to that song.
And I agree with you, Brian. Jason's
Great
kill
song.
is cool because especially I just love seeing like his body just convulsing as the propeller's chopping into his neck. All right, Dustin, what's your thought on the the finale of the movie?
Well, I liked it. I thought it was well done. There are a couple things I didn't like. First of all, when Sheriff's, when he trips, God, it was so dramatic how slowly he fell. Like, that was one thing that stood out. Is he fell in slow motion and landed just perfectly beside the dead cop's face. That was a little bit okay. Come on. And then another comedic relief. So when Megan's outside screaming and trying to find her dad, it shows the kids under the bed, and the one boy looks at the other and goes, "Well, what were you going to be when you grew up?" I thought that was a pretty funny scene, pretty funny one-liner there. And then you mentioned the sheriff kill. I actually thought that was a pretty badass kill, just folding the man backwards like that. It's like, God damn, we get it, bro. You lift. Like, you're strong. But another thing I nitpick about the scene, though, or I dislike about the scene, is I get it. He wanted to kill Tommy, but you're going to tell me that Jason, who drowned, is just going to willingly walk out into the water like that? Might have a little bit of a Great Gatsby fear of water going on there, if we're being honest.
Shut the fuck up, Dustin.
Jason's scared of water?
I was waiting for it. Nico was getting so mad just sitting there listening to that. Like, no, it's not a fucking fear of water.
And then, when he's setting fire to the water, I agree. What's the point of it? But another thing is, if you pay attention, it's one of those things that I can't unsee once I noticed it. So he strikes the match. The match goes out before it ever hits the water, and then the flame starts up. And so that was something that's like, well, shit.
Oh.
But yeah, I loved when his eyes open, but I agree. It does do a good job of foreshadowing, like, okay, he's not dead. We're going to get at least another Friday movie. But like you said, the way that he's resurrected in 7 is like, what's he been doing down there? Just sleeping the whole time? Shit, pal.
Right, that's dumb. Very dumb.
Yeah. But yeah, overall, I was satisfied with it with the end of the movie. I'm glad that Tommy got his closure, like you said, and it was an action-packed ending to a phenomenal movie.
I'm really curious to hear Dustin's rating because he's thrown out some really good nitpicks that I kind of enjoyed in this review. Y'all ready to jump into fun facts?
Let's do it.
Sure.
I got 7 wrote down, but we've said a few of them throughout. Does anybody want to go first, or I can go? It doesn't matter.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Nico.
I think we said. I'm just going to read them, even if we said it. First and only film, including New Line's 3 films, to feature no nudity, although there is one sex scene. This film, marks the only time in the series, other than prologues and flashbacks, that there are actually children at the summer camp. After becoming a born-again Christian, I thought this one was interesting. After becoming a born-again Christian, John Shepard, who starred as Tommy in Friday the 13th, A New Beginning, Part 5, did not want the role, and it went to Tom Matthews instead. The blue pickup truck Tommy drives is the same truck that Pam drives in A New Beginning. Ted White has said he was offered the role, but turned it down. White stated in hindsight he should have accepted the role. At 86 minutes, this is the shortest Friday the 13th movie. And like Dustin said earlier, this was the final scene to be shot was the crashing of the RV. Does anybody else have fun facts?
I got one.
I've only got one, too. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I didn't mean to shit on y'all's fun facts. I forgot to save those. I just kind of been letting them go as we go through the scene.
No, that's fine. That's no problem.
you're good, man.
I always do that.
I do the same thing, man. Like I literally do that every episode, so no big deal. I have a couple. If you go ahead, Dustin.
I do just have one more because it was something that's kind of a head scratcher. I read that the Turkish poster for the film featured Jason holding a chainsaw, and Jason never used a chainsaw in any of the Friday 13 movies. Like none of the 12 films did he use a chainsaw. But the Turkish poster for the film had him holding a chainsaw.
Oh, fuck it, same genre. So, you read the actor that played Tommy? You read that one? Tom McLaughlin had to up the kills and up the gore and up a lot of that stuff because Paramount was scared it was going to get a PG-13 rating, and that's kind of a death nail for a lot of horror movies. So that probably would have been a really bad thing, not making a lot of money. So they had to kind of, turn the volume up in this movie some. This is one I thought was really cool. The original script had the debut of Jason's dad, revealing he had been paying the caretaker to take special care of Jason and Pamela's graves the entire time. That was going to be his debut scene. I don't know why that was written out or where that went, but I thought that was really cool. Tom McLaughlin was offered to direct Scream. He turned it down. I guess he didn't want to make a lot of money. And this movie was a huge influence for Scream, which we're going to get to before we leave this show. Motorboat scene shot in swimming pool, and you already mentioned Brian, which is still cool, so I want to repeat it. The director's wife was legitimately almost killed by that spear. That spear is real, it's heavy, and it was sharp, and they said it was about the length of the end of a pencil close to her neck. So she could have easily died making this movie.
That'd have been crazy.
Oof.
So that's all I got.
The only fun fact I have, it's kind of playing. Nico just touched on it a little bit that John Shepard that played Tommy in Part 5 didn't want to come back. Well, apparently, like New Beginning left Part 5, New Beginning left 3 characters standing. Tommy, Pam, and the lovable little kid Reggie or whatever, and all 3 of those had signed up for 2 films, and Kinman was told, character wouldn't return to Part 6 to pull Tommy back from the brink of insanity. Ross assumed Reggie would be brought back to be killed off, but others claim his return was never in the cards because no one wanted to see Jason kill a little kid. But Shepard, who actually liked Tom McLaughlin's script, decided not to return, thinking himself better than the material. His work in Part 5 was unappreciated. So he later became a preacher, like you said, and produced, based films or whatever. But the fact that, basically the fact that Tommy didn't come back from 5 is the reason none of the other ones came back from 5 either.
Okay, that's cool. Brian, do you want to say anything about Kevin Williamson? I know this movie was really influential to him.
Yeah, actually, well, yeah, actually, like you said, that Tom McLaughlin was asked to do Scream, and then obviously Kevin Williamson, thank God, was asked to come on and do that. And I don't want to spoil too much about our interview, so I'm not going to say too much about it. But I know that CJ touches on that just a little bit. But yeah, Kevin Williamson said that he was very influential. This movie right here and how meta it was and how it didn't take itself too seriously. And even, the little tidbit about the rules and stuff like that was very influential in his script for Scream.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool, man.
Yeah.
I know it's got to be it's kind of like, us getting to talk to these actors or directors, whatever. He got to tell the guy, who inspired him that your movie inspired me to write or produce this movie. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Y'all ready to jump into favorite kill, least favorite kill, and rating?
Sure.
Let's do it.
All right, Dustin, you're the guest. Do you want to go first or do you want to go last?
It doesn't matter. I can go first. I got them. So my least favorite kill, I'm gonna start with that one. Is Paula, and that's just because it was off camera and she was pretty significant in the film. So I thought we deserved to see more in her death. Right. And another reason why I didn't like that kill was because after she's dead, he throws her through the window and then pulls her back. Like, what the fuck are you doing? What's the point of that? But my favorite kill, it's really a toss-up between 2. I really like killing Lizbeth, the way, like I said earlier, the way he surprises her and stabs her in the face. But I'm going to have to go with Hawes, Alan Hawes at the first kill of the movie. Because Jason's standing there, gets hit in the back of the head with a shovel, doesn't even flinch, rips man's heart out. That's pretty badass. So that's my favorite kill.
Fatality.
What's your rating, Dustin?
Oh, rating. Rating. I'm gonna have to. So this is my favorite film of the franchise. However, there's another movie that I rate higher. I know that's weird, but I rate this one a solid 8.5. But there's another film in the franchise that's not my favorite that I think is a better movie, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't think that's weird because I mean,
No, that's
I
good.
look at films like, okay, this is a better movie, but this is my favorite movie. So I
Right.
do the same thing and separate them.
Right.
Okay, so I think I go with 8.5 on this one.
Okay. I'll go next. That ain't no problem. Uh, I wrote my favorite kill is Nikki, and I wrote literally Dustin is going to pick the heart punch, and so I picked this one because I already knew you liked that one the best.
Oh,
And
I love it.
a fun fact we forgot, but we did mention in part 4 is Nikki, the girl who gets her head slammed to the RV. She was one of those dancers in
Yes.
Oh, that's
in the
right.
final chapter when Axel was watching the that stuff on TV. And I agree with Dustin again. My least favorite kill is Paula because I mean, like he said, she's a significant character in this movie, but you don't even see like what happened to her body when they walk. They just see the blood all over the cabin. That was kind of disappointing to me.
Yeah.
My rating of the movie is a 9. Me and Brian kind of had this chit chat the other day. This and the final chapter, part 4, are essentially they're tied to me. I like Jason better in this movie, but I like the teenagers and the supporting cast in the final chapter better. I love both versions of Tommy Jarvis. I love Corey Feldman and Tom Matthews. I love the opening scene of this movie. It should be up there as one of the best in horror films, in my opinion. I love the utility belt look. I know Brian doesn't. The only cons I have really are the lack of cast development, and there's a lot of basic off-screen kills. However, this movie is the first horror movie I ever watched. It's still very nostalgic to me and has a place in my heart. It made me fall in love with the Jason character. I really like, in our Friday the 13th ranking, that Freddy versus Jason was the one that really screwed up my rankings because you can ask Mike and Brian, I really didn't even want to rank that in the series because there's 2 of them in it. But, part 4 and part 4 is the best human Jason, I guess you can say. And final chapter is the best zombie Jason movie. And I love both of them. So it's a 9 for me.
All right, I'll go next. So my favorite kill is it's kind of a tie. It's the sissy kill, which I really like just because I think turning someone's head all the way around is fucking gross. So I really like that kill. And the Nikki kill, it's kind of a tie. I like that Nikki kill a lot. I love the effects a lot. I think it's really cool. So 2-way tie there. My least favorite kill is Paula, like everyone else. I try to think of something different, but there really isn't one that's more lame than that because you don't see it. So off screen and not well done, it's definitely my least favorite. My rating for this has gone back and forth a couple times because this wasn't. For me, it is tied with Final Chapter as far as how I view the movie, the amount of enjoyment I get out of the movie. I think I enjoy them both the same for different reasons. Where that movie takes itself seriously in a good way, where there's still some hokey horror 80s stuff, but I love the dark Jason, the way that's shot in part 4, and in this one it doesn't take itself too seriously, like a Scream, like there's other meta movies, but in that same vein, where it doesn't take itself too seriously, but there's still some good horror parts of this movie. So I give it a 7.5. I almost went 8, but upon a rewatch, there's just a Friday movie that I like more than this one now. Like if we had to redo our rankings, I think I would put this 2 right behind the 2009 remake. So that's 7.5. And before Brian goes, I am not letting you two that came on this fucking show and tried to say Scream is not a horror movie when this is the least fucking horror movie we've done so far. This movie is almost pure comedy gold. So I don't want to hear y'all shit on it's spooky me, or I don't want to hear y'all shit on nothing in Scream anymore, not being horror. This is the same movie, almost more hokey. So I really don't want to hear that shit. They're both horror movies for good reason.
Hey, go re-listen to Scream. I did not say it was not horror. That was Mr. Drew.
Well, Dustin,
And
go fuck
and
yourself.
and to be fair, I obviously wasn't a part of that episode. If I were, I would have given you my more serious take on the film. I just like to give you hell. If we're being honest, I just like to bust your balls, pal.
Well, fuck yourself anyway. How about that? For different reasons. No, I actually really do like this movie, and I like it for the same reasons that I like Scream, where there are really good meta moments where I don't know, there's just something about that genre. This movie, the Scream movies, and Wes Craven's New Nightmare. I love all that stuff because it's like, it's like an aha from them to us. Like, we know what we're doing is kind of stupid, but let's lean into that a little bit. So I've always liked it.
All right, Brian, I'm ready to hear your rating now.
So, first of all, yes, I have been very vocal that I do not like the Jason utility belt. And I will have to give very much appreciation to my co-hosts here that were also on the upcoming CJ Graham interview, that when he brings up the utility belt, that none of them threw me under the bus to Mr. CJ Graham. I was sitting there like, oh God, I'm about to have to defend why I don't like this and tell the man that plays Jason Voorhees that I do not like the utility belt. But thank you guys very much for that. So my least favorite kill is the smiley face tree face into the tree there kill. I do not like that because of the reasons I mentioned before. The whole smiley face thing takes me completely out of it. My best kill, since Mike Wentworth even mentioned one of them, so I'm going to go with the other one and say that the Jason kill at the end is my favorite one. Him being hacked with the bow is going to be my favorite one. And I do not remember. I should have done some better research and gone back and looked at what I rated Part 4. But like I said earlier, 2 and 3. My second and third ranked is 4 and 6, and those things jump back and forth depending on the day. And so I don't remember what I rated it, but I'm going to give this one an 8.
That's fair. I'm not gonna throw you under the bus to CJ, bro. I'm not,
Oh yeah,
that's
I
a big
appreciate
son.
that.
That's a big
I
son of a
appreciate
gun.
it.
I don't want him to ever to take his wrath out on us. Dustin, before we get out of here, I'm kind of curious. What's the movie you have rated higher, if you don't mind answering that?
So there.
And I have another question after that. Go ahead.
Okay. So the film that I have rated higher is the one that you all shit on the most.
Oh my God.
It's not Manhattan.
Oh, I was about to say it better
okay.
not be Part 8.
Is it the OG?
It's the OG.
Oh,
And the reason
right.
no. The
I
reason
get it.
is
I get it.
if you watch the movie blindly, you know nothing about
Right.
the franchise and knowing that it leads to Jason in the Mask. It's a good movie. It's got a swerve because the whole time you think the killer is someone else and it turns out it's the mom. I thought the storyline, I don't know, the storyline, the plot, the acting, dialogue, I thought that it was a solid movie, especially for the time. I've got it ranked at a 9.5 actually.
I'll give you that one.
Great fucking movie, man.
I don't like it, but I'll give you that.
And
I
I
understand.
thought I was crazy because when we were discussing the rankings, the way you all shit on it, I went and looked it up, and it's the highest rated film in the franchise,
yeah.
both by critics and fans. So
I
I'm not
know.
crazy, but
So
We're crazy.
I'm going to get shit on for this. I don't necessarily like that movie that much, but I've always thought completely away from the Jason movie. So we all want to see a new Jason movie. Like, I really need that to happen. Everybody get their shit together. Stop fucking around. Let's do this thing. So you could have both of these things exist at the same time. I've always thought some kind of, maybe not a prequel because I don't really like prequels, but some kind of movie playing off the Pamela Voorhees storyline would be a good movie. Like, whether it be a prequel that kind of leads up to that night or, that time at the camp, or whether it just be Pamela doesn't, like, something different than the route they went, because we saw Jason take like a 20-year jump in age in 2 years. So we had to kind of ignore that in part 2. So I've always thought if they were going to do the Pamela thing, or really what they should redo is Sackhead Jason. But anyway, sorry. The best damn Jason.
Absolutely not. Dustin, I've
Yes.
given you so much hell over this. Did you rewatch the final chapter?
Yes. I'm glad you
Yeah,
guys
let's
let me.
hear it, baby.
I'm glad I'm on again to redeem myself. I did.
Yes.
I was mistaken. Like I said before, the reason that I had it ranked so low is because I guess I'd forgotten. And so what I did was I listened to your guys' review and then I rewatched it and I was like, yeah, I was tripping that day. So if I don't have my exact list ahead of me, but I do know that or in front of me rather, I do have it in the other room, and I did make some revisions and I moved it up. I don't remember what I ended up ranking it, but it was definitely higher on my list post rewatch. So I did you all a disservice by coming on the show unprepared like that. I've watched a lot of the films in the franchise before that day, but I skipped that one like a fool.
There you go.
I wasn't calling you out for everybody. I just wanted to make sure you watched it because honestly,
Oh yeah,
4 and 6 are the two best.
Yeah.
If you exclude the remake, because I know Brian is very very passionate about the remake. Mike said it's his favorite,
I like the
but
remake too.
I like the remake too. But it's I don't know.
Yeah.
But like we mentioned at the beginning of this show, guys, we had the actor who played Jason, C.J. Graham, on. He did an awesome interview with us, and we wanted to review this movie. To kind of tag team it with his interview that's dropping on Friday the 13th. We really hope you tune in. And he has a website if you want to check out any like signed pictures or signed machetes or masks. I think he has those as well.
Mhm.
The website is jasonvi.com. Show him some love because I thought he played Jason very well in this movie. To be honest, I loved his portrayal. Maybe it's just because I remember him as a 6-year-old kid, but I thought he played Jason very well in this movie. Does anybody else have any final thoughts before we get out of here?
I'm good, man. Hey, I say this every now and then, not every episode, but I say a lot of episodes. Go watch this movie. Go out of your way to watch this movie. It's a really fun movie, really entertaining, and it's one that sometimes I don't recommend people watch. Like I don't think I did that last week with Rob Zombies for many reasons. But I had it rated the same. But this is more fun. Like this is a more fun watch. It's a shorter watch, and you don't have to spend 40 minutes with the Dr. Loomis and Kid Michael either. So go watch this movie. A lot of fun.
Yeah, make sure you tune in Friday the 13th for that C.J. Graham interview as well.
Yes.
Absolutely, and I just want to say thanks one more time for you guys for having me on. Keep up the good work, and hopefully I can come back sometime.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Sure, brother.
And before we get out of here, I think all of us are going to just say thank you to CJ Graham one more time for doing that interview with us. It was awesome. I learned some cool stuff. Me and Dustin are self-admitted. We love this movie, and it was so cool just to get to tell him personally, the impact this movie had on me as a horror fan. So that was really awesome. Thank you, CJ. Y'all have a good night. Rate us 5 stars on iTunes, please. It's really helping us out. Like, it's so cool. We've had people that we have no idea who they are come to our social medias and tell us, hey, you're doing a great job. You're putting out great episodes. That is awesome to us, and we thank you for that. Y'all have a good night. And just want to remind everybody to don't go out.